recording.
You're in.
Yeah, I have the tallest person do it.
Call a public hearing to order. First resolution, resolution 2021-07R, a resolution of the town of Hot Springs Town Council increasing the water sewer security deposit.
If you guys want to change the name, it could be for renters. I don't know. It explains it down in the bottom, but we did have someone call and ask about that.
And I'll just skip all the MCA stuff, so skip down to whereas the total for the minimum water and minimum sewer combined charge is $53.95 per month. And whereas the average charge for water and sewer service combined is $73.45. And whereas it be deemed necessary to increase the security deposit required for rentals to cover the minimum amount, which could be charged in given this month's time. Now therefore be it resolved by the town of Hot Springs Town Council that the water sewer security deposit be raised to $200, which may be waived by the property owner. So just explain that a little bit how we come up with that is, so the two minimum fees together is $53.95 is the minimum base fee that we're charging right now, which we raised a few months ago. And then what we did is we went and looked at the average water sewer bill, which is $73.45 with usage. So what we looked at as our previous was $100 for a security deposit. Well, what normally happens is they're behind at least 2 months before we do the shut off and do all that. So effectively they could have a $200 bill roughly. The reason we put that on there is because if the renter is paying the water sewer bill and the landlord doesn't know any of this is going on. At one point, there's a point in that process, so we do notify the homeowner, the property owner that is in delinquency and things are going on. But that's usually after it's 2 months delinquent and we're doing the shut off and the property owner gets notified that there's a problem with the bill. So they know, because in result, the property owner is responsible for the bill. So that's why we notify them. And that's why that is on there, which back the other way, the property owner could waive that too. So if you rent a place, the property owner could waive the security deposit, which we have a form they fill out and they sign it saying they're waiving that $200. But it's just a good way to protect the property owner and protect us, of course.
I asked all the clerks on listserv in the state, and it came back anywhere from 100, 150, 250, all the way up to $500. And it was all over the place.
Delinquent,
No,
The
deposit.
Oh,
water
different
deposit,
places, yeah. different towns.
Any questions on that? Any public comment? It's time to discuss if anyone wants to discuss it for any questions. What ends up happening here in Hot Springs is we still have a pretty good transient. So people come and rent a place and then they know they're leaving, so they quit paying their bills and then they just skip town. So having the $200 deposit, they normally, that's about the time we're going to be shutting them off anyway. So that's always kind of covers the homeowner and us, of course, too, but the homeowner, because like I said, they're gonna inherit the bill of the property owner.
Right, if they default, the homeowner has to pay it anyway, and if you sign a waiver, the homeowner has to pay it,
yeah.
So the
Yeah.
$200 just kind of protects the property owner a little bit. So if they leave, then there's some sitting there to cover what they left behind.
Right.
Okay, no more discussion on that resolution. We'll move on to the next resolution. Next resolution is 2021-08R, a resolution of the town council of the town of Hot Springs to revise the 2019-2020 fiscal budget. Whereas the town is required to reflect changes to the budget by resolution, whereas the local government review committee line item 2350 has exceeded budgeted appropriations and the town would like to increase the expenditure budget to the fund. Whereas there was sufficient operating cash in the local government review fund against which to pay for additional expenditures in the fund. Whereas per MCA 73184, upon termination of the study commission, unexpended money reverts to the general fund of the local government, allowing transfer of surplus local government review funds to the general fund as provided in resolution 2014-001R. Therefore be resolved by the town of town council, the town of Hot Springs, at the fiscal year 2019-2020 local government review fund expenditure budget be increased by $118.14. What this is the local government review is a special tax for 1 year on our taxes. Well, what happens is if you don't pay your taxes in that 1 year, then that isn't charged. But as you know, you pay your taxes sooner or later. So what's happened is we receive some back tax money.
Oh,
So it has to go into that fund, and then we have to transfer it back out of that fund to the general fund.
But to be able to transfer it out of that fund, we had to budget to spend it, and we didn't budget to spend it because we didn't plan on getting it. So we haven't budgeted any expenditure in the 2850 fund because we didn't plan on having any money in there.
I thought we transferred it to the general
No, here's what
fund.
happens,
We
Leslie,
can.
okay, here's what happens is, so let's say there's been a house in foreclosure for the last 10 years, so the taxes aren't paid. Someone bought it yesterday. The taxes are paid to date then. So in 2012, when that options tax was put on for the local government review, that was never paid because they never paid those taxes. Those taxes got paid yesterday. So now that $118 that goes to local government review, even though that was done years ago, still comes to the town of Hot Springs. We have to put it in the local government review line item by law. We have to put it there
First.
first.
And
Now
then,
we have to transfer it back out, but we never know when we're getting that money. We never know when someone's going to pay that. So it got paid. Now we have to revise the budget to put it in the general fund.
okay. That's
It's a
really
lot of
confusing.
paperwork.
It's
and a lot
really
of talking,
stupid, but
yeah.
yeah. Basically.
The lady that we pay the $10,000 to will catch stuff like that.
Yeah,
She didn't catch that one, we didn't get that far, we got it before then, but we have to, in order to spend any money out of any fund, you have to budget to spend that money. If you go over by 1 penny, you have to go in and revise your budget. So we didn't budget to spend any money in fiscal year 2019 out of that fund. So when Magda did, or 2020, so when Magda did the AFR, she found that line item in there that I've been transferring it. It goes into local government. I transferred into ours. The problem is we never did an expenditure to allow us to spend that money out of there because we didn't know we were going to get it. So all we have to do is do a budget revision and everything.
okay.
It's a lot of paperwork for a few dollars. And that'll-
Yeah,
And of course, and stuff like that, it takes years for that money to finally dribble in. What is that? It's been 8 years ago now that we did that?
So 2 more years, we're coming up to vote on again?
Yeah.
Ooh, we better make
Well,
sure.
we'll
they do
still,
some
we'll
heavy
still be
duty-
receiving tax money on the previous one when we're voting to do it again and hopefully.
So we're doing all these extra steps and paperwork for $118.
it really isn't that much to do it. It gets picked up in the audit or in the AFR, and she just says, by the way, you need to fix this. Just like last year, we overspent the streets fund by a few dollars. So we just had to go and rebudget it so we could spend more money. We had the cash in the reserves. We just didn't budget to spend those reserves. So we just had to change the expenditure budget a little bit. Basically the same thing.
Okay,
So,
any
okay, go ahead.
other public comment? Hearing no other public comment, we're gonna close the public hearing. Open the town council meeting. Roll call.
Smith,
Stelter,
Graham,
Weatherly. Woods. Approval of the minutes of the previous 2 meetings. We have 2 meetings there. We have the capital improvement plan meeting, and then we also have town council meeting which followed.
I make a motion, we approve the capital improvement meeting and the town council meeting for January.
second.
Motion made second. Any council discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Presentation of claims. There was actually a lot of claims this month because we had a jury trial. So you'll see the jury marks on there. Also, you'll see that the reserve officers that were in town for the Banditos weekend, there was 4 of them. And then the
$10,000 to the auditor,
yeah.
finally.
Rubber gloves. What the kind of rubber gloves? Just the
Like-
latex ones?
By the case. The extra large and large are really, really hard to get right now. So when they come available, I get a notification. So I order a case of each.
Got it.
Are you pleased with half the lights?
No.
No?
They're too bright now, it's dirty in
Camera
there.
switch on it now?
Oh my God, especially, that was, as you see up here, one of the things I
Was
put
to
on
paint
there
the
was to
ceiling?
paint the fire hall ceiling white because it's just so dark in there. So well, if we get it painted white instead of being brown, it would lighten it up, and now I don't think you need
I don't
them.
think you need No, I got her helping, and they work really well.
It really lit it up way better. I mean, it's just not even comparable.
He found out though, when the order was coming through that they only shipped half, and then sent him an email that the other half were back ordered, which he didn't know when, they didn't tell him until they shipped that he was only getting half of them.
Yeah, that's a
That's a delay in your work.
big difference.
That truck is looking pretty good though. You can see that.
So what's with the signposts? Are we replacing a bunch of
So,
them?
I was gonna tell you. I keep going.
The signpost?
Yeah.
What we're starting in on is a sign project. What we want to do is have every intersection in town to have a street sign on it for the street name. And it won't be at both intersections, but what we're gonna do is, what we're looking at is every intersection, at least one corner of that intersection will have a sign saying, Central and Ennis or whatever at every intersection. So when people are driving around town looking for something,
They can
at least if
type
they
it.
stop at an intersection, they can look and there's a sign. What we kind of talked about is putting them where like your stop sign would be or whatever. That's where people can tell. But I mean, that was and then replace all the wooden posts in town too. A lot of those old stop signs and yield signs and stuff are on wooden posts,
Mhm.
and they're getting rotten and they're falling. I mean, some of them fell over in the windstorm the other day. I mean,
Oh.
they're rotten enough. So that was Mark and Dan figured about 75 should do the whole town for. We got quite a few of them down here, like at the Spring Street area, have already been done. But when you start moving further into town,
And they get replaced with wooden ones also?
no, these are steel. That's what the
Steel,
Newman
okay.
sign. That's a Newman sign is. That's they're an anchor piece that gets concreted in the ground, and then the signpost slides down in it. They're
Okay,
inch and a half or inch and a quarter square tubing.
okay.
So like you see down, like on Main Street, almost anything on Spring Street is at our sign already. Because we've already done a few of them, but since we had, for that new gas tax money, that's some of the stuff we were buying and get all that up and get the signs up. But some of the things people kind of complain about or hear a lot from the delivery guys, it's just hard finding.
They can't find the.
Like I said, you
addresses.
can find the street, you can kind of wiggle your way around and figure it out, but when you can't even find the street, it's
Yeah,
hard finding it, so. Anything else on that?
oh, we had a couple of claims here for the Spring Street.
Yeah.
Oil changes, radiator leak. That's it. So I make a motion, we accept the claims. Did we do that already?
No,
No.
you can make the motion. Someone want to second it? And the other thing on here that, we finally got billed for was the siding for the city shop.
I was just seeing that.
Yeah, the new- that'll be all new.
Lumber and feet on here now.
Yeah, it'd be and that's for the, metal on the wooden part, so half of that shop is wooden. And those boards on there are getting rotten. And, just from, that shop was probably built in the 40s, maybe even in the 30s. So like the knots are falling out of the holes and stuff like that. So they insulated it, vapor wrap it and put that steel siding on so that we can keep that place warm. Motion been made and second. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Financial report, you have December's in front of you. Nothing on there, everything looks good. Of course, the fire department transport is 92,333 in the red because we have a grant reimbursement, which came, so that's what I think there. The other thing we talked about, and we knew was coming, the sewer is in the red, 11,775 at the end of December, but part of that was because the purchase of the public works, the pickup for the water sewer department.
Okay.
Sewer didn't have enough money in there, but now sewer's back in the black.
It has plenty of money in the reserves. I didn't move any out of reserves into the cash. So,
We have, that as a, probably should set the capital improvement.
It's still the cash fund, it's under the capital improvement, but I need to move the cash out of the capital improvement bank account into a cash number, I guess. I was looking at that today, but I didn't change it. I was gonna call Mom to see how to do it right.
But everything else is, from the general fund on down, everything else looks good. And we knew that was gonna happen when we did that in the sewer fund, the operating. We're operating really close. And one reason for raising the rates is the sewer fund especially was operating really close every month. It wasn't really gaining. The money we were bringing in is about the money that was costing to operate the system. So, which now it'll start gaining on itself a little bit more. So.
Okay, motion to approve the financials.
Motion made to approve financials. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any council discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Reports, this last month, it's not on here, but we did a bunch more work on the water project. It's moving along. The engineer, CR from Morrison Merrill, he met Amy and I. We went to Polson and met with Dan Nepo, who's the owner of the property where the well is gonna go. One of the questions there is when the engineering firm went up there to verify location of property pins and stuff, they found that the surveys weren't filed properly. So the actual filed survey is not where the property pins are. So Dan, of course, knows exactly where those property pins are because they're marked. So we went and met with him and got his approval. We're resurveying that as those pins that he knows where they're at. And it doesn't really affect us any, but it kind of cleans all that up. Also, that will survey the right of ways and stuff and make sure all that is properly filed. So that stuff that was done and surveyed, you can find some of those things, but there's none that was filed properly, which is always a wonderful thing. That means you didn't actually do it. So got all that done.
It's on one from a really long time ago, but the most recent survey doesn't include it at all.
But the trouble is Dan bought a piece of property and the property pins are very visible on exactly where the pins are. Those are not the filed pins. So, and that was what I explained to him is he sees these pins, we need to survey it for those pins. We don't need to go out there and start moving pins and say, oh yeah, you bought this property, but this isn't actually your own. We can't, I don't want to do that. So it doesn't affect us any. We still got to survey it no matter what. So it just cleans everything up and makes it better for us.
So you think the new survey will be different than his pins?
No, the pins, they'll survey it to those pins
Okay,
and
Yeah,
file it
I'll
properly.
leave it with the pins on.
okay.
So, so he was good with all that. So move forward there. It's been a short month, but it seems like it's been a blur with a bunch of other things going on that we'll talk about later. Public Works has been busy, just keeping the streets kind of straight, clean and the hills sanded and working on some little different things, little sewer backups and stuff like that. Working on the signs, getting that stuff all ready to go. So as soon as the ground kind of thaws out, getting some of these little projects going. They're kind of hard to do in the wintertime, but getting prepared for them. So one of the things you're gonna start doing is we're adding on to the sewer lagoons and the chlorine building. We're gonna add on to that and get the water and stuff hooked up out there. Of course, siting the city shop, and of course, as soon as it gets nice and have some nice days, we'll start working on potholes. But it's kind of a moot point right now. The freeze thaw, it doesn't work real well. In the water department, Mike's learning a few things there. We have they did a virtual safety inspection so it's probably a little more inclusive because they asked all kinds of questions since they can sit at home and do it virtually. So we're going through that, which I think is going pretty good. Working on the operating plans, especially emergency response plans and stuff for the water and the sewer department. To make sure they're up to date and make sure the equipment's here.
Met with that lady with that tracking thing for several hours the other day.
Well, he didn't tell me about
That
that.
GS mapping,
I knew that there's
she showed up. I don't think he remembered she was coming.
trying to think of the program now, but we're eligible for a program to GPS all our manholes and everything in town. There's some, and Mike contacted her and I don't know all the ins and outs
Is
on
it
it.
like MapQuest where
It's like
you got Google Earth and
Yeah,
plot it out? Because we're
GPS
using that with our
mapping.
fiber trunk going in.
Yeah,
everywhere.
it's we actually, Mike and I kind of talked about it. Some of the programs are extremely expensive, and then all of a sudden, through the state or through somebody that came, that all of a sudden, like I said, Mike and I talked about, like the next day we get a mailer saying there's something available out there. So that's who he must have met with. But the program of doing that is map all that stuff, and then you get to have that software. It was, if it did cost us, it wasn't much.
It was whatever he's doing with her, it made it free for us. He had to do a bunch of extra stuff and it made it free for us.
So we'll get the computer program and then go out there and map all. the
And I think
manholes.
the equipment maybe that he needs is.
Yeah, I think that was part of it, or some sort of, I don't remember now, it was some grant through the state or something that we got to do this. It comes with the GPS stuff and all
Yeah,
that. So
everything's plotted GPS on a
Mhm.
map. And
yeah, that's what that'll be his next project. He'll have to go out and do it all, but
Yeah. stand next to the manhole with a GPS plate.
Well, that would actually be what he needs to do. That is here on these little light, on these days or just barely snows a skiff, especially when it's a little warm and snows a skiff, because you can see all the manholes and all the water covers, because the snow doesn't stick to them. Right. So, but one of the programs, so he's been busy with a lot of that stuff and just kind of catching everything up from years of lack of. So that's all getting caught up. And the blower in was waiting for the electrician to come put that up. So they'll have to get with an electrician one of these days. It's all mounted and ready to go. One of those 3-phase blowers out there. Fire department. We've had a couple little fires, saving structures. We were the initial call out on the downed commercial airliner yesterday.
It was a satellite that fell out of the sky.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me in the
You're
pictures.
kidding.
So anyways,
Saw it and freaked.
well, part of it was the girl that took the initial pictures did them at around 7:20 yesterday morning. She shared them on social media with some people, and about 10:20, one of those other people called 911 reporting that it was a commercial airliner crash. So,
Where was this at?
it wasn't even here. When you look at the pictures, it was actually over the mountains towards Folsom. But then after you talk to the girl that took the picture, she said you could see it in the sky for minutes before it actually disappeared. So it wasn't even, it's something flying altitude. But
Gosh, I saw this on the internet. I didn't realize it was this fall. I didn't know. it was
Yeah,
this
we were
year.
responding
Oh my
to
goodness.
so yeah, so it was actually kind of cool. When you look at it and pull it up, it's a fireball of something, and it has a real billowy. It's not like a jet aircraft or whatever. It's kind of a billowy contrail behind it, and it doesn't go for very far, and it looks like it's coming straight down out of the sky. It does, but like she said, she watched it for minutes before it disappeared, so you know that it's traveling at a distance to see it that much. But then after you kind of talk to people, actually quite a few people saw it yesterday morning. That it was out over towards Lone Pine and then towards Polson on the Salish Range there, so you can see it.
Did they ever find what it was?
No, it probably landed in North Dakota.
Oh, wow.
They said they sent it into the flight.
The FAA, but
Yeah.
no, that's all that's been said. So the black SUVs will probably be showing up.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be another Roswell. It'll be a weather balloon.
Okay, we're in for souvenirs.
Police department, you know that here. Traffic, there's motor vehicle contacts, citations for stop sign violation, multiple failure to provide proof of insurance, suspended driver's license, and permitting unlicensed minor to drive, and equipment violations. There were no DUIs, 5 informational cases started, 2 criminal trespasses to property and 1 theft. Assaults, there were 3 partner family member assaults, 2 disorderly conduct arrests, 1 assault other, and then felony warrant arrest. We did multiple agency assists. They did firearms qualifications with the reserve officers while they were here over the Banditos weekend, and then the Banditos event. That Eric said that went very well as usual, no problems with anybody.
No problems?
No.
One bandito had a black eye. I don't know if a friend or something gave it to him.
We had
Was
a
there-
traffic incident when they
Over the
were
forehead? Had a cut over the forehead.
Maybe.
That individual found a sink on his way, losing his equilibrium.
Oh, great.
I didn't hardly leave my house.
And while on Friday, as soon as they got here, one of them parked right out front here, and one of our local farmers pulled a horse trailer down Main Street, decided he's gonna park in front of the vet clinic and drug the trailer over the back of the guy's pickup.
What?
And
Oh, my.
then tried leaving.
Oh, gee.
So,
Yeah.
so I got that taken care of.
We didn't have
Explains
any
everything.
issues with them at all. They were just fine.
Yeah, no, it's
The
there.
whole weekend, they were cool.
Yeah, there's-
It's
Yeah.
just the name is
They're
scary.
very
Otherwise, they're
wonderful.
fun.
Now.
Yeah.
Those guys like to drink.
Nothing. Council have anything? Clerk have anything?
Yeah, we have had, City Hall has had like a revolving door on it the last week. Nonstop people coming in here, new property owners, people buying property, wanting to put up fences, dig wells, want to know about the zoning, want to know about water and sewer hookups in and out of town, on the edges of town. It's been just crazy, some of the stuff that's been going on in here, just nonstop people coming in. We've had a lot of questions about the different zoning and putting in. Well, we had a lady in here asking for neighbors about putting in culverts in our right of ways, and it's just been very busy with lots of new activity in town. And then the other thing we need to think about is it's going to be very difficult for us to get a 1-year audit for our fiscal year 20 audit, and we are required to do one. We need to decide if we're going to do a 2-year audit, and also if we're going to continue to work with Nicole.
Someone think about actually right now, we cannot work with Nicole. The state won't allow it.
And well, they tried to say that, but then when we dug deeper into it, they actually can't.
Well, I'm sure they
Yeah.
can't say it, but the state did say it,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
She's got which is the problem, is do we really want to do anything with her? The other company that does them, one of the things they're doing government audits is not everyone can do them. You have to have a special license to do that. And like the other company that we hired, I had a lot of problems with. They were charging us for things that they actually screwed up. So then the next year they're charging us for what they screwed up, but they charge us for that too. And me and the owner didn't see eye to eye to that. Going to out of town. So he keeps sending stuff to Amy wanting to come back. I guess we could always get a quote from him on one, but
There's more than two, isn't it? I mean, that's-
Oh, there's a lot more, but you start getting,
So
you start
government
going
ones is
too
a
far
list of,
away,
like,
you start
11.
paying for that too.
for the entire thing. The one thing I did hear, and I did talk to the ladies at the state, I talked to Magda and I talked to Nicole. And at this point, it's going to be very hard. Everybody was behind last year. Nicole was especially far behind and did get in trouble from the state for that. I have the emails and she told me she did get in trouble. And she has to catch up before she can sign any more contracts with anyone, not just us, but anyone. But she said that she did, Magda did, and the ladies from the state right now, you're going to have a hard time finding anyone that can do a fiscal year 20 audit and have it done in time. So you should potentially look at doing a 2-year audit. The risk of that is if we end up having to have another federal audit for 2022, 21, which I don't think we will. I think we still fall under it. We went through the numbers and stuff. I think we still fall under that. Otherwise, you have to do it for both years. If you do that, and it's going to be spendy to do.
So you, I guess doing it for 1 year is, and then the other choice is doing it for 2. And does that save us money?
It
Is that
does save
gonna-
you money,
It does.
A little.
a little
Okay.
bit, yeah.
Is it in the $10,000 range? Like,
Well, the thing is, a 1-year audit isn't usually $10,000. I think we were paying 12 to 13 for a 2-year audit. The reason this one was 10,000, this is a federal audit. It's not just your basic audit. It requires a whole lot more. It even has to be reported different. You have to report it electronically through this federal processing system. It was fun.
A 1-year audit is not half of a 2-year audit, though. I think a 1-year audit is around 8 and you get a 2-year audit for about 12.
Mhm.
So you're saving a little bit.
is that up to us to make that choice?
Mhm.
Okay,
So we need to have more information before you should make that choice, though. We need
oh,
to-
sure, we need to know who we're gonna get.
And who we can work with and all that. And
Yeah.
Nicole's always been great. Nicole's problem is she's done this to us more than once. It's not the first time she's been late on the audit. I don't think she's ever been on time on the audit. She's always been very reasonable with us on the price. So we've always kind of allowed it because she's always been a few thousand less than the other guy. So that's why we've kind of just dealt with it, but we've always had a problem with her being late on the audits. I don't think she's ever been on time.
I was very upset, mad, angry, pissed off when she gave us the finding for being late. And I told her that it's in our audit. My response is in there that I disagree and that I felt like she did not take enough responsibility. And I told her that. And she said that was fair and that I should put it in there like that. And when I talked to her about it, she said at this time she wouldn't be able to commit to doing it anyway, the 1-year audit.
Mhm.
She has to get caught up, but she did. I have emails if you guys want
So
copies.
why
of
would
it,
the
but
state say you can't use it?
right now, nobody can. She cannot sign a contract with anybody until she gets
She's so far
caught up.
behind on audits that
Until
the
she
state,
gets caught
the
up.
state regulates the government audit. So in order for you to have that special tag, the state actually blesses that.
They only
So-
give you a list. There's only about, I don't know, a dozen auditors, if that, on the list that you can choose from that are government auditors. There's not a lot to choose from. And like I said, everybody is behind, not as far behind as she was, I don't think, but she got really far behind.
So we don't need to make a decision tonight.
No,
No, not tonight, but we do need to make a decision right away if we're gonna do a 1-year, a 2-year, and I don't think we have time to find an auditor that can do a 1-year audit.
So is that a decision we can make tonight?
We can't vote on it, we just needed to talk about it, so.
I didn't think we're gonna do a 2-year
Yeah.
audit no matter what. It just
Mhm.
is what it is.
A 2-year audit, I would rather do a 2-year audit because we're still trying to finish that one and should already be starting the next one, so. And we haven't had any problems with any of we haven't had any major problems. Our audit findings this time we'll discuss, but they're not big problems, so.
Okay, anything else? Library?
Library hours, are you there?
I
I thought she was sick or on vacation.
No, I thought I told you she was here.
I was both those things, so, I'm watching out for whales. I'm starting to feel like Jonah.
Oh,
Library hours for March are Tuesday noon to 5, Wednesday noon to 5, Thursday noon to 4, Friday noon to 4. Interlibrary loans are available. Delivery and curbside is available Tuesday through Friday. We're also available by appointment Tuesday through Friday. Masks are still required by patrons and staff inside the library. Collections, we will begin to do inventory this month. Technology, the county turned down our request for printers. Not exactly a surprise, but there's really not much else to report. We're changing around our fill-ins. We've got one leaving and a new one coming in, so numbers are up. Looking pretty good. Not much to report, so.
okay, thank you, Starla. Anyone have any questions for the library? Thank you, Starla. Zoning compliance, actually nothing to report there. Just a lot of questions being asked and a lot of phone conversations on property annexations and stuff. And if they annex the property, can they get water and sewer and that type of stuff? People dreaming. Till we see some money change hands, I guess it don't matter. But like Amy said, it gets more than they can handle here. It's been spilling over to me. It's been quite a bit of time, actually probably about 4 times this last month talking to people about water and sewer or annexing or water and sewer to properties outside of city limits and stuff like that. It's been people talking about buying pretty expensive properties to park a motorhome on.
Yeah, that one was weird. I think he's still talking about it. He called again
Spend a couple
today.
$100,000 to park a motorhome. I'm like, really? I don't know. I mean, people, so that's where we're at there.
You see, talking to my brother.
Yeah. Old business, approved quote for restroom building for the park. We tabled that from last meeting. We had quite a bit of discussion on it.
What was the quote again? Was it 14?
14 something.
14 something. And mine, and I guess I thought a little more about it and go over there and walk around and look at it. And I'd love to have the bathroom. It's just the logistics of the bathroom. Once you put that bathroom in, now you have to maintain it. So then your city crew is there daily cleaning toilet paper and all that. Any vandalism the city's responsible for. Of course, then we have to winterize it and all that. And one of the things that you sit there looking at it is are we at the time for that, or do we need to maybe focus a little more on tearing the old bathroom out, putting in a concrete slab there large enough to put a couple of porta potties on a nice concrete slab with some room to get around everything, and maybe focused on getting our power in there right now, getting a power pole into the meter and some drops and so there's power actually in the park. We need to spend 15,000 on doing that, or would we be, then by the time you did power and a concrete slab and all that, you're going to be into it another, 3 for power probably.
Yeah, 25 to 3 for
Yeah.
power.
By the time you get a pole and a meter base and everything in, and then 1,000 probably by the time you get done with tearing the old building out and bringing that grade up a little and pouring a slab, you're probably another 1,000 there. So, I think for right now, and maybe look at spending money on something else instead of a bathroom. I think it could become, I think for the crew and stuff, they'd probably do it. It just becomes a big hassle. It just becomes, if we use the outhouses, if it gets vandalized, if it gets dirty, if it gets our rent takes care of that. We pay $80 a month. So it takes a lot of years to burn up the porta potty rent. So just kind of, there's pros and cons to it. And I've talked to a lot of people. Everyone has said we need bathrooms in the park. Then when you start talking the money, a lot of them back right off and think the outhouse is cool. When you start talking $15,000 for and one of the things you start looking into, just like one of the people point out right away, you have a sink in there. well, now people are gonna try filling, water jugs, and all that. Then once you get a sink in there, now people are gonna try living there because they can take a wet shower and all that in the park.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna have and like the one guy said, he goes, oh, I remember when I was a kid, I remember flushing a whole bunch of stuff down the toilet to get to overflow and run out the doors.
Yep.
We'll have that too. You don't have that when you have the porta potty.
And we
Porta
don't have to
potty is,
winterize them, they just pull them out when the season.
or, and one of the things that and that was one of the things we talked about too, is, you can effectively leave them there year round. So people have a place just to stop and go to the bathroom real quick if they need to downtown. That was one of the big things. A couple of the people brought that up. A couple of the older people said, they kind of plan their trip to town. So they go to the bank, the post office, the grocery store, Gamble's. And like the one lady says, she goes, I always have one too many cups of tea and I have to use the restroom. And due to COVID, no one lets you use restrooms anymore.
No one lets you use a restroom anymore in.
So she goes, then I have to go home. So I plan doing the rest of my trip another day. She goes, even if I had that, she goes, I hate outhouses, but if I had to use one, at least I don't have to go all the way home and come back to town another day. It's just one of those
Yeah.
things.
Well, it wouldn't be used that much, and the outhouse would be much cleaner, I think, in the long run, and less expensive. One thing I was thinking about is I talked to Ed on this one is going with the outhouse and then maybe earmarking that money for a water feature or something in the park. And I was thinking that if we are going to do outhouses, I think you were mentioning of putting it on a concrete slab, maybe even at the time of putting a concrete slab in, of just stubbing in the
See, that's
sewer
what I was
and
thinking.
water.
How hard would that be?
So that if you ever
Have
do
enough
put it in,
later.
it's outside of the slab,
Yeah.
so you don't have
Stub
to
it outside
tip.
the slab and you can
Exactly.
do what you want later.
That
When
way
they do that, they can bring that sewer line right up and just, seen it done before, just cap it underneath that,
Exactly.
right there, that ground level. And then you just pop that cap. And same, like with the water, you just come up with just put a pipe
Couple of risers in it.
and riser in there for that.
Well, yeah, and we
Step
could
right
make
in.
the slab big enough to accommodate the concrete building.
Mhm.
So that we wouldn't have to change that if we
Mhm.
decided to go with it
Yeah, I
in the
think that's what
future.
we should do if the
Yeah.
actual
The
restroom.
footprint,
Mhm.
Correct.
And then that was one of the things we just put the slab in, have it all ready to go, and then down the road, if we decide to do it, but it would clean that up. Get that old building out of there, make the slab even with the sidewalk, instead of having that hump down in the hole, and, just if you clean that
well,
section
and
up.
too, we don't have to go with a concrete building, we could do a wooden building. With a metal roof, you don't have to use that concrete.
No, you can go an all metal building too, you can do
That's right.
steel studs in it and metal outside, metal inside, and all that down the road. I
Yeah.
think we need to focus on, I think the outhouses are gonna work, My thought was build a slab big enough so you can have two there if you're doing an event, you can put two of them there, have one there all the time, but if you do an event, you can throw another outhouse on there or something, so there's a couple of them, but the main thing I think we would probably use more, than anything is is power, electricity in the park instead of not having anything.
I like that idea.
Which then the campers will pull in and plug into, and
Well, you can make it not accessible.
well,
you know.
it'll be
Yeah.
locked.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be accessible.
So I move that we go with the porta potties slab big enough for two, with the plumbing stubbed into the concrete slab.
Okay, I'll second that, but I think the footprint should be big enough to accommodate the concrete building.
Will
In
be.
the future.
It'll actually
Yeah.
be bigger, it'll
Yeah.
actually be pretty good, way bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things I even thought about when we were doing the concrete building, is it comes with the floor and stuff, and or you can get it without the floor, but we need to have sidewalk area out in front of that too, you don't wanna step out of that.
Oh,
right
yeah,
on the
and have
dirt.
a step into the mud.
Yeah, you want a 3 or a 4 foot wide sidewalk area in front of it, so building the pad big enough to accommodate all that, I think would be the way to go. So that you could, if you did down the road, decide to set one on it or build one on it or whatever, but still big
Mhm.
enough that you're on concrete the whole time, and not
Want to figure out what that's gonna cost?
Around 1,000.
Okay, not bad. What about power?
Power's about 3.
Okay. Shall we add that to the motion?
Yep.
Okay,
Put power in the house.
okay, that's a good compromise anyway. One step
I know,
at
I
a
was
time.
trying to put it all on this page, so it's all on the same page, but
Do I have a second?
we got it.
I.
Oh,
you seconded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other council discussion?
I'm guessing it'll.
Hearing
it'll mess me
none.
up.
All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to new business. First new business is resolution 2021-07R, a resolution of Town of Hot Springs Town Council increasing the water sewer security deposit. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we change the water deposit to $200, but we were talking about, on the, was for rentals or
On the
something
bottom
like
of,
that?
on the bottom of it, it does say it's for rentals.
It
and
does
that-
say it's for
Yeah, and that
rentals,
the
okay.
landlord has a right to change it.
Yeah, and the
It's just-
landlord can waive
Yeah.
the deposit.
Yep,
Okay.
we have a form for that. And actually that part we've been doing for years.
Yeah.
That's a-
And Leslie's signed those, she knows.
I have, yeah. Because I don't want to pay it by the month at all. They're using the water, they should pay.
Yeah, it says whereas it is deemed necessary to increase the security deposit for rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess say rentals.
So we had a motion.
I made the motion.
We have a second.
Second, Crystal second.
Any other council discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is resolution 2021-08R, resolution of the town council of the town of Hot Springs to revise the 2019-2020 fiscal budget. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve resolution number 2021-08R.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any council discussion?
Well, this sheet had more than one thing on it here.
That's a
Yeah,
different sheet.
just down at the bottom was just the recommendation to do the amendment.
Okay, for the.
Yeah, you guys
She
already-
gave you too much information.
You guys already approved all those other things at a different meeting, but at the very bottom, I just wanted to show you why I did it. That's what Magda had recommended,
Okay,
the highlighted part.
so we have a first and a second.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
We had council discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? 2020 audit, do you have, I think you got that in your council packet,
Oh, yeah.
so I'm sure everyone read it.
Oh, yeah.
So there's
Just the highlights.
I go straight to the findings, so.
So this letter from Nicole Noonan was interesting, or not very, but I don't know, I mean, she's not really apologizing and she's not really saying we did anything wrong. So what
it's
is
a
this
formal letter. Well, it's a formal letter.
Yeah.
This is part of the formal letter that it goes with the paperwork. So it's a formal letter.
So she does that every time.
Significant
she
audit
does-
matters. So these are all of our findings.
Okay,
And then the disagreements with management and the management responses.
okay,
And so this goes with the audit to the feds and to the state.
okay, well, I'm
Well, this
glad
is-
it's,
This is not the
Done.
findings, so this is her dealing with us while we're doing it, so. Like, I encountered no significant difficulties dealing with management performing my audit, that kind of thing. The findings are actually in the audit, I believe.
Yeah,
They're in here.
in the very back.
There are those pages out. They're in the very back.
and we fixed the findings, right?
Well,
No,
no, see, some of the findings we can't fix, and that was part of the problem, is the court we cannot fix.
we're working on a
Yeah,
moving forward solution, but we can't go back and.
We can't go back and fix some, because that was 2 court clerks prior. So you gotta remember this audit was, clerk in 19. So, and it was actually the stuff they were looking at was clear back to the court clerk before Jasmine. So it was the court clerk before Jasmine, then Jasmine. It was these audit findings on the court. And then the other was the journal entry approval. One of them was for the property that was donated to us.
I did find an email where I had emailed her telling her we're getting us, asked what paperwork we needed, and she told me to ask my attorney. And then she gave us an audit finding for
So,
not putting it in the JV.
so that was just a simple addition, so. And then the audit timeliness, so it was,
so if we can't fix the finding, then it just is
It's just-
duly noted and,
yep, and then we
Stays with
just
the
answered it, that
yeah.
we have changed court clerks and we're moving forward with fixing it. We can't fix the stuff behind because there's no way to, it's unfixable.
Right, but we show that we are
So,
accepting the finding and making changes so it doesn't
Yeah.
happen again.
right,
And then, of course, then the one like the donation of the property is just, we didn't enter it in Black Mountain, our accounting software.
we even had you guys approve receiving it and everything at a council meeting, well, not you guys,
It
but
was
you
just-
guys.
It was just,
Mhm.
it was just not entered into the Black Mountain
So
software.
I
It
didn't
was just-
know that it
Just our
had a-
accounting software, which why would you put it in there, but whatever, so that was the audit findings. And for really no findings to take her a year to do it, year and a half or whatever it is, but. To accept it,
I don't know if they have to accept it.
let's go ahead and accept it.
Okay,
We have a motion to accept the audit.
I move to be accept the audit.
I'll second that.
Any council discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any public comment on non-agenda items?
well, I got those backwards. didn't
Yeah, I know, but I can always change the order too, but I thought,
Yeah, we're gonna go.
if there's no public comment on non-agenda items, anything,
There's no they left.
everyone left? Okay.
Okay, let me pause the recording then. Well, go ahead.
Next item is town attorney resignation. Did you guys get a copy of the resignation letter in your?
Yes, I
Email.
did.
Email, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to go to executive session at this time.
Okay.
We're back from executive session. Last item on the agenda is town attorney resignation. Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the town attorney resignation letter.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any council discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, aye.
Everybody's on
Opposed?
the same wavelength here, Paul?
Meeting
You wanna
adjourned.
take that second? That's the first one.
I was just gonna wait. I'm gonna see how long before it's